need to tell you, I don't need to prove to you that I am Spanish because you're doubting that I'm Spanish because I don't speak Spanish. Hey everyone! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mariah if this is your first time here. Today's video, as you can tell by the title, is a little bit of a rant to get ready with me, sharing my feelings about a topic that has been bothering me for quite some time now. I don't want to ramble too much or say what I'm going to talk about because you're going to see in just a second. I hope you guys enjoy my little rant. Let's get started. Okay, so I literally look insane. I'm in my robe, my hair is up. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. I woke up this morning at 8 o'clock, just like wide awake, and that never happens. I usually sleep in. So I was like, let me film before I have things to do because why not? This is a video that I have been wanting to make for the longest time now. I just haven't made it like a #1 priority to get to filming it, and now I'm like, okay, it's time to film this. For a number of reasons. One, because it's something I feel very heavily on and I need to get it out there. And also because I had talked about this on my Instagram stories one day and I had numerous people respond and say that they felt the same way. And I just feel like I'm making this video on behalf of them as well, kind of just share what's going on. If I'm looking over here a lot, it's because my stuff is like literally over here and I need to get it. So basically, this is all about not being Spanish enough. And this is just something that as a Hispanic young girl, young lady, that I face. And a lot of other people face it too, because when I posted about this, I had a lot of people responding and saying that they agree with me. And it's literally just the fact that society and the Hispanic community as a whole really loves to judge people and determine whether or not they are up to Hispanic standards, if they are Hispanic enough. And what that means is, you know, I'm Puerto Rican, and my family speaks fluent Spanish, but I don't speak fluent Spanish. So automatically, like when you don't know how to speak Spanish and you are Spanish, people automatically tend to knock you down a little bit because they're like, oh, you're Spanish, but you don't know how to speak Spanish, like you're a fake Spanish. Or, you know, they call you a gringa, which means like a white person, basically a white girl. It's just like, that's what you automatically get referred to as. And, you know, this all came up, well, I've always felt like this, but it really came up because on Instagram there was a post going around, and it was basically, I'll insert everything here, but it was basically saying like, oh, like if you're Spanish and you don't know how to speak Spanish, like you're a fake Spanish, kind of like talking about that. And it bothered me that I went off on my on my Instagram stories. I went off because I saw it and I was like, what in the world? And to make it worse, it was posted by someone who is Hispanic. So you're knocking down your fellow Hispanics. And it's weird because a lot of interactions that I have, you know, I'll be at work and there will be, you know, a Spanish couple or someone who doesn't really speak really good English, or maybe they do speak good English, and they'll come up to me and they'll just start talking in Spanish because usually they can tell that I'm Spanish, and I kind of tell them like, oh, like I don't speak Spanish. I can understand what you're saying right now, but you know, I just don't speak it back. And most times they kind of just walk away, or they can speak English and they'll respond and be like, oh, like, what do you mean, like you're Spanish and you can't speak Spanish? And it's like, yeah. And then I feel like I have to explain myself, and I shouldn't feel like I have to explain myself. I don't speak Spanish. I do speak Spanish. I know Spanish. I'm just not confident enough to speak it, and I feel like a lot of reasons why we're not confident enough to speak it is because the backlash we're going to face for not speaking it correctly, because we're already facing backlash for not trying to speak it altogether. So it's like, okay, I'm afraid to speak it because now if I say something wrong, you're going to make fun of me, or it's not going to be up to your standards of Spanish, or something's going to be wrong with it, and then I have to face that criticism. And it's like, Either way, it's not going to be ideal situation for me. On my senior year of high school, I had a Spanish teacher and she was really great. And, we kind of had this conversation because I was saying that I wasn't confident enough to speak Spanish. And she told me, she was like, I really, not that she feels bad, but she was like, like, I'm sorry that, like, you guys, you face so much criticism and you have such high expectations for the level of Spanish that you're supposed to be speaking. And she was like, don't let that criticism knock you down. She was like, just try your best and, be confident in the Spanish that you know. It's literally just annoying. It's annoying because you receive such backlash from your own people. And it's like, oh, you're fake Spanish. Oh, you're gringa because you don't speak Spanish. Or you're not up to my levels of Spanish. And after I saw this post on Instagram, it's like I couldn't stop seeing it. After that, I saw so many other posts about Spanish people who don't know how to speak Spanish and, oh, like, what did your parents do? All this stuff. And to continue this conversation, I was watching Orange is the New Black, and there was an episode, and the girl came in and she was Spanish, and someone started speaking Spanish to her, and she was like, oh, I don't speak Spanish. And the lady was like, kind of like saying, like, oh, your mother raised you and you can't even speak Spanish. And then there was a white person, and she was speaking Spanish. And the girl was like, oh, look, see, even gringa over here can speak Spanish, but you can't, like, your mother failed you.
Go. She'll help you. Espérate un momento, déjame terminar esto. I don't speak Spanish. Great, another fucking coconut. What's the matter with your mother? She don't teach you Spanish. You speak Spanish?
Un poco. Entiendo más de lo que puedo hablar.
You see? Fucking white girl speaks Spanish.
And I was just like, it's just a common thing. And it's literally insane. Okay, now I don't speak Spanish. You want me to learn? Because your reaction is not going to want me to learn any faster. Another thing is there's a show, it's called One Day at a Time on Netflix. It's really, really great. It's about a Hispanic family and the struggles they face and just a bunch of different things. And it talks about a lot of good topics. So, if you're Hispanic, you can really, really relate to it. The daughter she's very, like, politically active. And there's an episode where she's talking about how people never approach her thinking that she's Spanish, and it's because she's white Spanish. And what that means is that her skin color is a lot lighter than typical Hispanic people. And I say that because Hispanic people don't have one skin color, but a lot of people like to say, like, oh, if you're not tan or if you don't have the Spanish look, like, they don't think you're Spanish. She was saying that. She was like, people don't approach me thinking that I'm Hispanic because my skin color isn't as dark. I'm really white. And, I feel that on so many levels. I have a tan right now. It's the summer. But once the winter starts, I get really, really, really light. Hispanic comes in more than one color. And I'm tired of people thinking, oh, you're white in color, like, you're not as Hispanic, or you don't look Hispanic. Sis, like, Hispanic could be anyone. Like, it could be someone that you least expected being. Like, it's not a stereotypical, this is what a Hispanic looks like. It comes in all different shapes and colors and sizes. So she really touches upon that on the show One Day at a Time. And I was, when I was ranting, I was going on about this and saying how Spanish people come in more than one color. And another topic that I wanted to hit upon was that I'm Puerto Rican. And Puerto Rico is territory of the United States of America. And we're not considered a state, we're considered a territory, but our president is Donald Trump. And you are a citizen of the United States if you live in Puerto Rico, because it is U.S. territory. And a lot of people consider you less Hispanic because you are from a place that is owned by the United States and is territory of the United States. You're less Spanish. You don't have the same struggles. And you know what? I get that. I understand that, we are territory of the United States and we don't have all the issues that someone who comes from Mexico or someone who comes from Guatemala or someone who's Ecuadorian. Like, I understand, like, there is varying difficulties. It doesn't make me less Hispanic because I'm from a country that is owned by the United States. I'm not less Hispanic. A lot of times when I tell people that I don't know how to speak Spanish. Somewhere it would be followed up with, oh, like, where are you from? Like, where's your family from? And I'll say, oh, I'm Puerto Rican. And they'll be like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense why you don't know how to speak Spanish. And I'm like, so there's just this whole, like, stigma to it that you're not as Hispanic because you're part of the US and a lot of people know how to speak English as well. So it's not a number one necessity to learn how to speak Spanish. And they're like, oh, like that makes sense. Like that you're from Puerto Rico. And I'm like, what? Like what? Like, okay, so I'm not Spanish enough for you is basically what's happening right now. It's just annoying. And a lot of times, another thing is that I'll meet someone or someone will come up to me at work and they'll be like, oh, where are you from? And I'm like, from Long Island. That's where I'm from. I'm from Long Island. And they're like, no, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, you want to know what my ethnicity is? You should have asked that the first time because you asked me where I'm from. I'm going to tell you I'm from Long Island. Like, that's just where I'm from. Don't ask someone where they're from. If you want to know where they're from, which means their ethnicity, ask them what's your ethnicity, you know? Because I'm like, I'm from Long Island. I'm from New York, baby. Like, come on. Like, get with it. I want to say to the people who messaged me after I did this whole rant on Instagram, they were like, I can relate to this. I've struggled with this my whole life, not being Spanish enough because I don't know how to speak Spanish and my family's Spanish. First of all, thank you for sharing that story with me, whatever stories you had. Thank you for sharing your experiences with me. And also, like, I'm sorry. Like, from someone who experiences it as well, I'm sorry that you go through that. And I'm sorry that you're faced with that. A lot of times it's really like a hit in the gut. You're kind of like, it really makes you feel less connected to your culture. You kind of step back and you're like, I'm not Spanish enough. I'm not good enough. You know, I don't know how to speak Spanish. Like, I don't need to explain myself and tell you my whole background, my whole life story. I don't need to sit here and say, oh yeah, like, you know, my grandmother only speaks Spanish and, you know, I grew up around her a lot, or, you know, we only, like, family events, we always listen to, like, Spanish music and dance, and I know how to dance in Spanish. I don't need to tell you, I don't need to prove to you that I am Spanish because you're doubting that I'm Spanish because I don't speak Spanish. I just want to get that clear because I'm not going to sit here and tell you, well, I know how to dance to Spanish music, or, oh, I know how to cook rice and beans, or, oh, I know how to make empanadas. Like, I don't need to tell you all that to prove to you that I'm Spanish. Period. My skin is looking good today, just a little side note. In like 2 seconds, I'm gonna get out my phone and kind of go back to the rant that I had. See if I'm missing anything because I just feel so like disheveled and all over the place right now, like I'm not even gonna lie. If you are someone who is Spanish and if you have faced this as well, and if you are comfortable sharing your story, please leave a comment and tell me your story. Let's talk about it because this is a conversation that I never see being spoken about. Oh God, I don't see YouTube videos on it. I don't see other Hispanic creators using their platform to talk about this. And it's like, I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna talk about it because I face it and it's something that a lot of other Spanish people face and we need to talk about it. Let me go to my archived Instagram stories so I can tell y'all real quick. Here we go. So the actual Instagram post was, Hispanic girls that don't speak Spanish, you're the taco from Burger King. First of all, I bet that post was made by someone who is not Hispanic and has a fetish for Hispanic girls. This really got my mind going because before I even saw this post, I had watched the new season of Queer Eye, and right here I can tell you season 4, episode 6, it's called The Tale of Two Cultures, and there is a Chicana woman, and she talks about a lot of the times that she looks Hispanic, she is Hispanic, but she doesn't know how to speak Spanish, and she doesn't know how to cook Mexican food. And she says that her mother-in-law really judges her a lot because she can't communicate with her in Spanish and because she doesn't know how to cook Spanish food. So automatically she's seen as a bad wife, she's seen as a bad mother. Oh, you're not a real Hispanic because you can't cook authentic Mexican meals for your husband. You can't do this. You're not Spanish enough. And so she talked about that in the episode, and when I saw that, I was like, wow, like I I felt that. It was basically that she's not seen as good enough to Spanish people, to her own kind of people, because she's not up to their standards. And so I saw that episode, then I had saw the Instagram post, and I was like, oh no, like this is really bothering me, it's really getting out of hand. So I was posting about it. Then I brought in the One Day at a Time, because I said that they touch on issues of color, including the experiences of lighter-skinned versus darker-skinned Hispanic, as well as discrimination based on accents, language, or ethnicity. So that episode of One Day at a Time really touched on that. And I said, many people don't realize that being Hispanic comes in all colors. Just because I have light skin doesn't mean I'm a gringa or any less Puerto Rican. And it's so true. And then I also said, and being Puerto Rican is not a fake Spanish just because we're a territory of the United States. And that was it. Like that was what I said. And then it was the episode of Orange is the New Black, because the girl didn't know how to speak Spanish. It's just, this is an issue that so many Hispanic people can relate to, and it's just something I feel like nobody really talks about. It's sad that you have to feel less welcomed by your own Hispanic community, and if you're one of those people who faces it, like I said, I'm sorry. Feel free to share your story below. If you're comfortable, I'm down. I want to connect on that. I want to talk about it. I want to talk more about this topic. If you're someone who does that, if you're someone who judges everyone else, please stop. Whether you're Hispanic or not. If you're Hispanic, I feel like it makes it even worse, because it's like, damn, like you really gonna shade everyone like that is Hispanic as well? Like that's really, like, enough is enough. And I'm tired of Hispanic people posting on Instagram these shady comments about, oh, like, you know, Hispanic people don't know how to speak Spanish, like, you're so fake, like, whatever. What? Like, what? And you know what? I hope that this video reaches people, and people who can relate, and really teaches everyone and expands your knowledge, because if you're not Hispanic, please don't do it either. You know, this doesn't exclude you from the conversation. Please don't make me feel any less. Please don't post things online that are like, oh, Hispanic people who can't speak Spanish are like the taco from Burger King. Who are you to post that? You're not even Hispanic yourself. Who are you to come at my neck like that? Like, back up. Sit down. I feel like I've said everything. I feel like I don't even know what else to say to this. I'm sure I'm gonna have more to say, and it's just not all coming to me right now. Alright guys, so that is it for this video. I finished getting ready off of camera because I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope you guys really enjoyed me expressing my feelings about a topic. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for the love. I can never do that. Like, how do people do that? Am I doing it right? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below so you will be notified every single time that I post a new video. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!